What's going on, everybody? Man, is it like super dark in here? Why does it look so grainy? Um, let's see. I'm just trying this thing out. We did it a long time ago, but uh, I was just gonna see if this was worth doing or not. A little live Q&A. So throw any questions at me. Chat with me in the chat here on it's on my sidebar. I don't know where it is for y'all. I guess. Um, so if this doesn't get a whole lot of people involved in it, I may just go live on Instagram, Facebook here in just a little bit. But anyway, um, if you have any questions or whatever, feel free to throw it out there or chat or whatever. But I want to talk a little bit about a few things, including our trip to the Upper Midwest this past week, where we did Map Scout Challenge stuff. So um, it's been crazy, crazy busy for me. I took a nap today that was a couple of hours after I got done leading worship at church, and I'm super tired. You can probably tell my voice that it's like a little bit worn down. Got that bass voice thing going on. But anyway, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Upper Midwest, talk about some of the things, and yeah, like I said, if you guys don't really have a whole lot of questions or whatever, I'll address a few that we've had lately, and then we're gonna probably get ready for a Q&A podcast sometime in the next couple weeks or so. So we went up this week to um, we flew into Ohio, hung out with old Brian Cook of Ultimate Upland, and he drove us around to um, some places in Ohio to check out and do Map Scout Challenge work. And then he took us to PA, Pennsylvania as well, and he took us to Michigan. So we got to do all of that, and it was really fun. It was a lot of work. It's hard to do. Just get in there and tear it up in the woods this time of year. I would way prefer doing it in February or January, even if it allows. Usually, I'm kind of need a little bit of rest afterwards, after season, But I love being out there in the postseason, but in you know July and August, it's kind of tough. But it was way better weather than it is here in Texas, and so I enjoyed that. I know that the moment we got to the FW and actually walked outside to get on our shuttle to go to the hotel and get in the truck, we were like, "Oh, we're back in Texas. It's hotter than it's been all week and more humid here in East Texas at 10 o'clock at night than it was all in any of those three states." So it's just kind of nuts how things change. Me and Casey joked around that um, the country artists that write those songs about sweet summertime and all this stuff, they have to be from the Upper Midwest. They never been to Texas because it ain't sweet summertime here. But anyway, so we've been doing this for about 3.5 minutes. Haven't seen much chat come up, and so I think I'm going to move this over to probably Facebook Live. See if anybody wants to get involved and ask some questions over there, and then from there we may go to Instagram. I don't know. But if you have any thoughts or questions about the Map Scout Challenge stuff, hop on Facebook, I guess, here in a minute, since we're going to get off, or I'm going to get off of this. Unless I'm just not understanding. Oh, is there chat right there? Okay, sorry. I'm seeing chat now all of a sudden. I guess it just took a second to do the thing, to update. So let's keep going here for a second then. Micah Thompson says, "What a dude." I guess he's talking about KC or something. Do you see a good number of mature bucks on North Texas Public? Thanks for the question. Hunter's Advantage. No. They are there. They are there. Good numbers. And I would say, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to ask you if you want to hop back on there and imply what you mean. But when I think mature bucks, I don't know if it's actually it's, it's not necessarily a mature buck. Mature buck, a lot of people consider a 4.5-year-old buck where the bone structure stops growing, so therefore maturity. But for me, like shooter bucks is the way I think of it, kind of. And 3.5 is where they really start to put on some weight and get a little sway back thing going on a little bit, and uh, belly starts to drop down and stuff. So, and their antlers get big enough for me to feel like that's a deer I want to shoot most of the time. So, 3.5. Let's say that. I would say no. I do not see mature bucks very often on Texas public. But like we see them every year, I mean, and we get after it. We're out there a lot, probably more than most people. I would say definitely more than most people. But if you put a camera or two, I think, on North Texas public in good spots, that is kind of far back in, I think you can find that there, are definitely mature bucks, and you'll see them show up. A lot of times you may see them in the night. So you just got to try to figure out where they came from on that property and get back into whatever it is that they're coming from so that you can get daytime pictures of them and start understanding their patterns better for the daytime, so that either this year or next year, you can figure that out and get a shot at them. So anyway, I would say that a lot of times we're using last November's and October's and December's trail camera data to help us this year. So it's a process, this isn't something that just happens overnight, or not even in the season a lot of times. But if you hang enough cameras and you do enough sits, you're going to have something happen during the season. That's kind of where we're at. It's like, it's as tough as it gets hunting in East Texas and in North Texas. But, spending a bunch of time out there, you'll eventually run into something if you're spending wisely and you're working hard at it and that kind of thing. I appreciate the question. I hope I answered it a little bit. You responded with a 4.5 or older, Oklahoma public, 1 and 3 seems like a mature buck. Really, that's good. You're probably getting after it. You probably spend your time wisely and getting back in there and stuff. So it's good. That's pretty good thing for you guys to, I would say, stay where you're at, because that's a tough thing to do. I feel like anywhere in the country. So we don't see many 4.5-year-olds for sure, but there are a few. I think there's a video called Chong, or it has Chong in the title, that we put out. We did a hunt breakdown recently, and then we've also, did the season video of Chong. That's a buck that's definitely 4.5 or older. I think he's 5.5, because we've got 3. It's our 3rd year of encounters with him. And Casey had him at like 30 yards. Just wasn't able to get an arrow out. But that just, that's probably, like, I would say we see a few 4.5-year-olds on trail cameras, but we just haven't hunted a whole lot of Texas public the last couple of years. When we have, we've had good success. So then we kind of have moved on to other places. So anyway, it's been fun. Thanks for the question, dude. Jose says, what up from Southwest Virginia? What up, dude? Wylinan wants to know if I put in for any WMAs this year or ever in Texas. Was going to put in for a few. Yeah, I have put in for a few. I haven't put in this year. I got to get after that pretty soon. It's kind of a big task because my son is actually, last year was his first year he could apply, so I had to apply him for a bunch of stuff. So it's not just go in and put a few things in for me, so it's kind of a process that I have to do, and takes a while. So I haven't done that yet, but Casey has. But yeah, there are places, WMAs, that are worth putting in for sure. I don't know if I'll ever draw them or not, but there's not a whole lot of statistics on how and when to draw those, I guess, from the department, but definitely worth trying, dude. Eric Gentry. How about that? Picking ticks in the sweet, sweet summertime. That's a ride, dude. Last minute outdoors, best mobile hunting sticks. I'm probably not a great guy to ask that question to. There's dudes that, I'm not a gear junkie. KC is kind of a gear junkie, but at the same time, he's a very broke gear junkie, so he doesn't have a whole lot of experience with sticks and stuff like that. Um, the only sticks that we have used are like in a hunting context would be the Muddy Pro sticks and the primal single steps that came over on the tree. And both I've killed deer with both of those setups. And so KC killed last year with his primal single steps as well. So I mean they work, and I don't get very high, so I get 12 to 15 foot most of the time, 12 to 16 foot, usually a little over 12, 13, 14, 15 foot. Um, Single step can get me there. And those muddy sticks can get me there real comfortably. And a lot of times I can get away with 3. Um, so I guess it just kind of depends. It depends on the tree and the cover and all that. But I mean, I think if you are a guy that would prefer to have lightweight sticks, then there's some really lightweight options out there for you. They're probably pretty expensive. I do know some of them are expensive. And then there's, the Muddy Pro sticks are been around a long time, fairly light, very functional. Have the cam lock, like pull through rope cam strap or whatever you want to call it. Real easy to work for me since I've been using it for a long time. So actually, uh, I stayed with those this year, the whole year pretty much. We're gonna try some new stuff out this year just to make sure we're doing our due diligence and we can answer questions for you guys that are like that. So appreciate that question. I don't know that I can answer it very well, but I would say, don't spend all your money on sticks, spend it on tags and experiences and gas money, and buy you some sticks that fit into your system and work well for you, and just be happy with them. I don't think those pro sticks are too expensive. I've heard a lot of good things about the XOPs. The Lone Wolves, obviously, people, I don't know if that's overhyped, but they definitely are really good sticks. I've used those. I think we used those in Nebraska when Anthony shot his deer. So they're nice. You pay that much money for something, you're probably going to get a pretty nice project or product. Sorry, I can't talk very well. Like when I'm tired, I just sometimes words don't come to me. Let's see. Joshua Miller. Not a question, but awesome performance at Leonard Park yesterday. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for getting on here and saying that, man. We work hard at that, and we have in the past. We don't work at it anymore. We kind of done it before, but we do work hard when we're up there on stage to put on a good show and have fun and stuff like that. And we really enjoyed that. We don't get to do it as much as I'd like to anymore. Been staying very busy. White Lightning, I'm headed to Oklahoma. All right, dude. What you gonna do? You gonna be scouting up there, or hanging cameras, or getting out some corn, or what you doing? Last minute outdoors. What's your favorite state to hunt in? That is a good question, man. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw those in. Otherwise, I'm going to have a few things here to talk about, and then we'll hop off. But Last Minute Outdoor says, what's your favorite state to hunt in? And I can't hardly answer that. I'll say this. Kansas is fun. It's been tough over the last 5 years or so. We have made it work, and we've made it happen there. Last year we did, but there has been lots of years. I mean, that was the first year KC actually was able to kill a buck. I mean, it's tough. You don't, you see a lot of deer, you see some good deer, but you don't always get close to those deer. I think if you're a rifle hunter, it's there's a reason that state is only 10 or 14 days or whatever a rifle, because you could just smoke them. I mean, you can see them from a long way and move up to 300 yards, make a shot, and kill them. But the reason Kansas is so much fun for me is because I have a lot of history there, I guess. I have some family that has land up there, and that's originally why we started going up there to hunt 15 or 16 years ago. It was awesome. We had fun. We shot some nice deer, bigger deer than we had ever shot in Texas, and for much cheaper because we had leases and stuff, But eventually, the family started hunting some, and it just got weird. So we kind of went out of that situation and into a new lease up there. And then Casey and I have been hunting a lot of public up there. It's been tough the last few years. We had EHD kill off in 2011. Um, and it has not been the same since. Doesn't mean there's not still big deer in the state, but there's big deer in Illinois and Iowa and Missouri too, so Ohio. But I would say Kansas it has a lot of tradition or heritage and just like memories for me personally. But I say from a deer hunting experience, um, last year Illinois was awesome, but I was not there very long. But I can see that being a place that I would really love to spend more time. South Dakota, just from an overall experience, was like one of my. It was like my favorite. It's hard to say, but like everything was top notch. Like the weather, the deer, the open spaces, to see just creation and awesome things. The time of year, like I said, the weather was awesome. I mean, I slept like a baby on an air mattress in, lower 30-degree temps and upper 30-degree temps all week. Clear skies, stars, little or no noise or light pollution. And it was so much fun. We struggled to actually get it done there for a few days, so we didn't have the right wind, and the habitat wasn't for whitetails wasn't like just abundant, but it was so much fun, and I'm looking forward so much to that hunt this year. So it's hard for me to say, but those are a couple of my favorites. And then there's this thing in Texas where I've spent a lot of time here, and it's been tough, especially early on, the first couple of years we started doing this on public. It was tough to get it done and get deer, big bucks killed and stuff. But um, I have this kind of affinity towards some of the, especially like more local properties that I've hunted. That even if I haven't killed deer on them, like I've spent a lot of time there, and it's just fun to get to know, and there's just these memories, and that's what it is for me more than anything about when it comes to favorite places or states to hunt. And I think that Texas definitely would probably be top as well, just as much time as I've spent in the state, and then even more locally, just like some of these properties that I hunt are just they mean a lot to me. And I've had some great times with KC and several other friends. So thanks for the question, man. I hope I'm not too long winded on this stuff. I'm gonna try to looks like there's some more questions coming in. Try to stay on top of this. Eric Gentry, Gently. What's the coolest thing you saw between Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan? You, dude. You're the coolest thing I saw between all that. Um, Man, let me think about that. That's a good question. I think I really enjoyed the apple trees up there because it's something like I've never seen and done. We've made fun of on the podcast several times because Outdoor Life always had a segment about how to hunt apple trees, right? But I think probably like some of the stuff there in Pennsylvania was some of the things that I thought was really cool. So like the eft, which is like a little orange newt. It's like 3 or 4 inches long. We saw a few of those. Really cool. Super poisonous apparently. Um, and then like we saw 25 different types of mushrooms probably, and we were able to get a few different ones to take home, chanterelles and some chicken in the woods, and they were really good. Brian did a great job with the preparation on those. So those are kind of the coolest things I saw. We actually hung a truck in Michigan and had a buck on it that night, probably in shooting light. It looked like shooting light. I don't know exactly what shooting light time is there, but pretty decent buck, especially for what I understand. Michigan, everybody says a 2.5-year-old buck is about as good as you get, and this is a 2.5-year-old buck, I would assume. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. White Lightning says, "You guys elk hunting this year?" No, we are not, unless something miraculous happens. I am not a big time elk hunter. I enjoy parts of it, and on some parts of it I don't enjoy. And parts of it I don't enjoy are sitting around in the woods with nothing happening, kind of not really knowing what I should do next. And so we tend to do that a lot on OTC stuff. So we decided not to go OTC, not to mention It was so crowded last year, and we were far back, and we were seeing people, and we were seeing elk. We were in the elk the first 24 hours. We had three different encounters with bulls that were within shooting range, and we couldn't get them shot. But there was just so many people that started moving in, and it was just like not the experience I want. You know what I mean? So we decided this year if we didn't draw anything, we weren't going to go. So we didn't draw anything. I've had limited luck drawing things. I have had a couple of things that I've drawn, but anyway, that's about as much as I want to say on that, I guess. Yeah, hopefully in the future we draw something. I've got like 10 points in Arizona and 6 points in Colorado for elk. So hopefully I'll draw something in the future. I just don't know with all the different COVID things that have gone on in Point Creek because of. I think it's been tough to understand who's going to draw what when. Hawkwatch, what's the worst trail camera you've ever used? That's a great question, man. Good question. Let me think about this. Honestly, I think everybody probably who's ever tried to do the budget trail camera thing has probably used Wild Game Innovations because they make one of the most cheap or low end, affordable, I guess, trail cameras. And I've had some really good experiences, a couple of really good experiences with their cameras where a camera lasted for 3 or 4 years and did really well. It surprised me. But there has been probably more often than not where a wild game camera has just been pretty junky. We had a couple of stealth camera issues that happened after we bought these, like they're like PX12s or something, a couple of years back, and they were awesome. Like I think we bought them for like $35 and they worked really, really well. And then we bought some other ones that were like, I think they're even like a class up, and they did not do well. So I think it just kind of depends on the model. What's unfortunate that I'm starting to figure out about trail camera companies is the cheaper trail cameras, the lower line stuff, usually produced by a conglomerate who understands that if they don't produce a slightly different, newer version of their trail camera every year, then they don't, they would essentially are losing profits or not making as much profit and selling as much product, right? So they have to like re-engineer this thing and add a couple of pixels every year or something like that, or add a dial function or something like that that they can talk about, promote, market, and it makes people buy the trail camera the next year, right? So I would say that the thing is, like, year to year, you just don't know. Like, if you find a good trail camera that works, you probably should just buy several of them, I guess, is my thing. But yeah, anything lower end, I think you stand a chance of something not working like you want it to. So great question, dude. Or dudette. Sorry, I don't know. We don't have a whole lot of dudettes that watch us, but there are a few, I think. Let's see. Duramax 400CI. Best tip for hunting Southern Illinois. Well, it's a historically incredible place to hunt. I think that Pike County stuff is like Southwest Illinois, I believe, right? I would say, let's see, what was the actual question? Best tip. Okay, best tip. I guess it depends if you're hunting public or private. If you're hunting private, maybe a little different, but just for instance, say you're hunting public and you're hunting Southern Illinois, I would say try your best to find a scrape during the summertime because they do exist there. They don't exist here really. They're difficult to find if they do. You can find these scrapes that are just still, they're a hole in the ground even in the summertime. It's not because they're necessarily still digging them out, but they're coming in there and standing and visiting that licking branch still in the summer. It's their communication. Find that, put a trail camera on it, and then go in there and hunt a cold front in late October. That would be my best way to go about it on public. I think also you just can't go wrong in early November. You're going to have some people, but if you find you a spot, they're just going to be going nuts, man. It's going to be awesome. So, uh, and also don't be afraid to hunt close to the road if the sign appears that they're in there real thick. But it has to have road seclusion and have not had dudes coming through there. If there's any sign at all, then that's probably not daytime sign. That's probably nighttime sign. Or if it's can be seen from the road, that's probably nighttime sign. Hope that helps, dude. Good luck. Aiden Stewart says, "Looks like you're exhausted." I am. Thank you. I think the lighting maybe doesn't help. It's kind of like makes my eyes look they're baggy or whatever. So that could be. If I was a woman, I'd take that very offensive, but I don't. Why lighting? 1 of 3 is mature. Sounds like I'm just gonna mosey up there and shoot one. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? That's pretty insane. Um, Buck Slayer, what do you guys do for a living to be able to have so much time off work? We pretty much do this for a living now. I probably would be better off as a podcast topic, but I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit here. Thanks for the question, man. I have been a wedding videographer for the last since 2015. Among other things, I do, I play music like I talked about earlier, so I make a little money there, not a whole lot. And we make money doing this. And so really 3 years ago, 2018, I sold my house and made a little money on it because I bought in the recession in 2011. And so I made enough money to float us for a couple of years. And we kind of like debated on what to do, whether we should build a house, when we should build a house, and where we should build and all this other stuff. Right. And I don't really want to go into all the specifics of how it actually happened because it would bore people. But basically, I set myself up and my wife, was all on board with this. But basically, this is I had kind of come off a tour and wasn't playing music anymore as much, and decided that we would give this element thing a try. And that money that we had from the house just kind of allowed me to some time to edit and not have to worry about having a job or making a ton of money. And we kind of, burned through that in the last 3 years or so. Now I have built a house. We just moved in, but we burned through a considerable chunk of that by me not working. My wife works and we live really modestly. We didn't have, we took that money and we bought a property and built a shop on it. It was 567 square feet, metal building, 1 room, 1 bed. My wife and 2 kids slept in the bed. I slept on the couch for 2 years. Little tiny bathroom in the corner and a shower that's 30 by 30 inches, so it's like RV living pretty much. So we just, paid our dues, I guess, so as far as making a living off of this, we still, are growing and need to grow, but we are making some money off of it. And so, that is what I consider my job now. But it hasn't been that way until really this year. It's been, just me, having some blessings and working hard and getting set up, or setting myself up, I guess, and being very frugal. And I got $100 in Amazon cards for my birthday last year and couldn't figure out what to spend it on. Like I don't buy stuff for myself, So anyway, thanks for the question. Hope that didn't bore people. But good question, man. Joshua Miller, sorry. Joshua Miller, not Josh. What part of Texas, North Texas, South, West, etc., do you find the most success in? I guess says I moved to Texas recently and still trying to figure out the public land. It's difficult, man. I would say if you feel burn on it, just go get some private. Don't let people, or culture shame you out of hunting private land, dude. It's fun. It's good. You can go kill deer. You don't have to worry so much about all these other factors with dudes in the woods and messing things up, right? Um, you know, if you're talking about public, there's uh, there's more like walk-ins in North and East Texas probably than most of the other rest of the state. But the better hunting, if you can, draw or whatever, would be in South and West Texas usually. But yeah, draw stuff would be your best bet, and then private stuff. But if you're like talking about where to the biggest deer or the best deer hunting in Texas, where is it? It's the brush country. It's South Texas. So, um, but it's high price. You got to pay to play big time down there. It's some of the richest dudes in the world live down there. But yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. Todd Duncan just moved to Virginia from Kansas and will be my first time hunting hill country. Have been map scouting, focused on benches and transitions. What tips do you have for when I get boots on the ground? Can you clarify what transitions you're talking about, or what a transition is, I guess, for you? Benches. That's interesting. So in Pennsylvania, um, um, last week, this past week, we were in Pennsylvania and we were in the Allegheny National Forest. So we were in hill country. I would consider that hill country. It's essentially mountains, Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania mountains. I think a lot of people consider it that. Um, some of the best sign we found was on this bench, and we actually spooked a couple deer off it. We were kind of struggling to find sign and stuff at the first place we stopped, and so we're kind of making this big loop. We come down through this saddle, didn't see hardly anything in the saddle, and then we drop down elevation, heading back to the truck, and we get on this bench, and it's dark, and we bump deer off of it, bedded fawns, and get in there. There's some rubs, there's some deer traffic, there's tracks, which we hadn't seen a whole lot of yet. And it's all on this bench that just goes down this big ridge. I think that's a great spot to focus on, um, in the hill country, our benches. It's something also that is kind of secondary for a lot of guys. So you probably wouldn't see too many dudes with stands on benches hanging, or, dude traffic or whatever on benches. So if you're seeing a lot of people in the area, a bench would be probably a really good place to get away from those people. But I would honestly probably put saddles above benches if you can get away from people. I would spend more time on saddles, because I think that I've seen in my experience, and a lot of the hill country stuff is limited for me, but I did spend time in Iowa in very hilly country and Stevens State Forest. And um, I think that, and there's other instances where I have seen saddles really work. Kansas being one of those, which sounds odd, but some of the bigger rolling country out there, it's crazy that they'll still come over the saddles, even though it's fairly gently rolling. And so something I would focus on. And if you're hunting in the rut, that's kind of all you need is a big saddle with a trail going across it, and especially if it's big ridge and it's got a crossing trail where there's one going down the top of the ridge and one going over the saddle. I think you could sit up on top, blow your wind one particular direction, um, because you're on top, and it wouldn't swirl too much, and have a chance at deer coming across right there. I think it's a great place. Saw that in Illinois during turkey season this year too. Let's see, Todd. Oh, that's the one I just read. Okay. I like finding the sign and being surprised. Doesn't use cameras. Okay. Yeah. No, I understand that completely. I would, I would think that one day I will get back to that for sure. But there are definitely places I haven't, I don't use cameras where I hunt as well. Um, I've killed a buck in Texas not using cameras, or a couple of bucks. So it's fun to just get in there, and in Kansas too. Um, it's just fun to get in there and not really know what's going to happen. And just when a deer comes in, like, and it satisfies you, then you're satisfied because you don't know that there's a 160-inch deer in there or whatever. Hawk Watch says, I'm just a dude. Good to know, man. Sorry. If you thought I was calling you a girl, I just didn't know for sure which way to address you. Swerve says, what about Iowa? I hunt public only. Same thing? Question mark. Are you talking about hill country? I'm sorry, I haven't. I'm not able to place the context. Um, but if you could confirm what you're talking about there, I would definitely answer that. Fire, stop the madness. Living in Texas now, but lived in Illinois most of my life. You summed up Illinois tips very well. Thanks, man. I sometimes I just speak from my experience and my thoughts, but I do not want anybody to think that I'm an expert on this. Like I'm still learning a ton, and that's what makes it awesome. I love to learn, but I do also like to try to figure things out. And I like when I get them figured out. I like when they work, and all it makes me feel like, well, putting some brain power in, and it's working. Anyway, glad that you agree or concur with me there. Um, Sources, what you said about scrapes in the summer. Oh, I think okay. So for as far as Iowa goes, yeah, I definitely think that you could do the same thing there. I think anywhere that deer are big, like big bodied and plentiful, and have probably in the north a little bit, like they have a pretty hard rut in a maybe shorter window. Like for in Texas, I mean, we've talked about it. We've had a buck with his nose up a doe's tail, and on February 22nd, we got pictures of a big buck doing that. So we got this big old wide window of rut and rut action, and you got these narrow windows in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest, where deer are really getting after it hard for a week or two, especially. And then outside of that, there's a little, there's a big fall off, I guess. Not that it's not happening, but it's a big fall off compared to what it was the week before or the next week after. So I think that in those areas, you get these scrapes that just late October get pounded into the dirt by big deer that are strong and muscled up and fired up, and there's lots of deer, so it happens to make a depression or a place that when there's if they pee on it enough, the grass is not going to grow there for a while. So I would say in Iowa, finding something like that could be really, really good for you, man. I hunted late October in Iowa 2 years ago and had some incredible things happen. I mean, it snowed and deer got real fired up, and it was like straight up running, chasing in October 27th or 8th or whatever. So definitely a good time to be there, and a hopefully a good tactic to use as well. Hope that answers your question, Bubba. Let's see. Um, Habitat transitions. Todd Duncan says habitat transitions. Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Another thing we saw there in Pennsylvania, I was talking about benches, but we saw different. On that bench was actually a habitat transition, so it was kind of double. But there was also a transition down from there a couple hundred yards where we ran into a big or an area where we saw big rubs, and it was a for sure bedding area. Just this little kind of chute that like dipped down on the sides where a buck could lay down in all like cedars, I guess they were. I don't know. They were a evergreen type tree, and it was thick, like a cedar thicket you would see here in East Texas. And the buck could just lay down there and not see anything on either side. You know, Nothing could see it if it was walking in or something like that. Not be bothered. Tons of rubs down in there, and it was just nothing. There was no other habitat like that we had seen yet at that point, where there was these little small evergreens stacked into this little hole. So I mean, anytime you can find a habitat transition, especially if it's got kind of a line at some point, that's an edge. And edges, that is where I started understanding how to hunt deer, probably generally, but also on public, is habitat transitions. They're creating an edge, and the edge being what deer follow. Which, never mind. I have another point about that, but I don't want to rag on the department too bad. Let's see. Which part of Tawakoni would you say is the best? I've hunted the whole thing. Mm, that's a good question, man. I haven't hunted a ton there. I've hunted some there. Um, the big chunk is worth spending time on. I think. I think. Um, I think if you could get in there about October 29th and hunt several times from then till mid-November, I think you'd have a better chance of, especially early November, November 1st, November 2nd, I think you'd have a really good chance of having a buck come by you that has not seen a dude yet walking in. It's kind of a very narrow window where the deer are not going to be moving in that area, I don't think, until late October. You're going to start seeing new bucks moving to different areas and prepare for this rut and checking new does and stuff, or a new group of does that they don't hang around in the summertime. So I think staying around there, and as much as you can from the 29th to the 5th of November. Hopefully that is. I haven't spent a whole lot of time there, but I would think that would beat a lot of dudes. Once you get to November 10th, there's been some dudes in there for sure, and the deer are probably starting to get pretty pressured at that point. So good luck, man, with that. I don't know. I can't give you a whole lot of information on that. I'm sorry, because hadn't spent just a ton of time there, but I do know it gets pounded. Swerve says, I'm still new to bow hunting. Last year was my second year, kind of just been figuring it out myself. Oh, okay, cool, man. Well, I hope you figure it out. And I can tell you this, it is difficult, but it is so much fun and so worth it, man. Just stay after it. Find you a friend that'll go out there and hang out with you too, man, because that'll just keep you mentally strong and keep you in the game. And don't just measure success on shooting something either, man. I mean, it was a few years of hunting public land in Texas before we actually shot a deer. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's as hard as it gets, I think. Except for maybe Florida. But yeah, stay after it, dude. It'll be rewarding. One day you will figure it out, and then you have the rest of your life to do this fun activity in the woods and be pretty decent at it. Buck Slayer, what's your favorite venison recipe? Anything unusual? I'm sure we all love fried backstrap. We definitely love fried backstrap, dude. One of my favorite recipes is Buck. I don't know if I necessarily like the guy that much, but I like his recipes. They're pretty incredible. Hank Shaw has put together some good recipes. There's a book called Buck Moose, and we did a recipe out of that, and we do it sometimes when we have a kitchen, which we haven't really the last 3 years. But it's like a Chinese cumin backstrap. Well, you can do it with anything, but we use backstrap a lot. It's like a kind of a stir fry built out of leeks. So you get these leeks. If you don't know what a leek is, it's like a fat stalk that's got almost like an onion in, but it's still pretty straight. It's not like bulbous. You chop up the leeks. I think you actually chop up the green part of the leeks more than there's like a small section where it's like coming from white to the dark green, and you take these little chunks out, slice it up, and you make this. It's a stir fry. You kind of shred it up. The way you do it is you actually soak those for a while, and you kind of rustle them around every once in a while. All the dirt falls out of the leeks because there will be dirt in them to the bottom of the bowl, and the leeks float on top. And then you just scoop them out, throw them in a stir fry with garlic and oil. So you do your meat first and everything. But I don't know all the steps, but basically you do the meat, you'd use the oil to stir fry with garlic and maybe some Thai chilies or something like that. And it is so good. I love it so much. But yeah, I mean, I love venison, man. Another thing I did with ducks a couple years ago was we went out, my kids and we just jumped a pond and shot a mallard, brought it home, immediately sliced into little thin strips that were about that long, strips that were about that long. And then I just had like a spicy brown mustard, a like great value chili sauce that you can buy at the Asian section, and just straight up soy, I think. And I basically just straight up threw them in flour and threw them in that much oil that was, 350-ish degrees, fried them up little strips and gave them to my kids, and they dipped them in all the sauces, and they, ate the whole thing. It's a really easy recipe. I think you could do that with deer too, just like as like a little appetizer. Pretty cool deal. Speaking of, my dad's got some steaks on the grill. I'm at their place right now, so I'm gonna have to cut this off here pretty quick and go eat some steak. But I appreciate all the questions. Let me get there. There's a couple more here, maybe. What's your upcoming season of the element look like? It looks like this. There's some. Once it gets to November, things go haywire. This is what people that hang around us start to realize is that nothing is known past November, really. But we're going to go to Nebraska in September. We're going to go to South Dakota in early October. And there's a good chance we end up in probably Illinois or maybe Missouri in late October. And then after that, probably we'll do Kansas in early November, because that's kind of it's when my dad's up there and some of our friends, and it's just like, it's something I don't want to miss. It's camp, So, and then after that, it's really just depends on how many tags we filled, what we don't have filled, what we got to fill, and that'll determine where we go. May go to Oklahoma later in the season. Just depends, But hopefully, ideally, we're back in mid-November hunting Texas, Texas public, or on my place where I shot my big deer last year. So that's kind of the idea. I hope that was descriptive enough for you, brother. Did you get your recurve fixed? No. Shooting is not coming along. I don't have it fixed, and we're supposed to be getting bows from a bow company. I'm not even going to mention them, who they are, because I'm kind of like not sure if they're going to send them or not. But they've, since March, I've been working with them and been told that we were getting bows, and then I got told 4 weeks ago that they were 2 weeks out, and they still haven't showed up. I don't know what's going on. But because of that, I haven't gone and taken my bow and got a tune-up yet. So I literally haven't been shooting. It's frustrating. It's a first world problem, really. Sometimes I'm complaining, but it's just kind of, I want to be shooting right now, and I just haven't, because we haven't gotten bows. So I'm going to work on that actually tomorrow, see where we're at with that, and if I need to get my old bow just going again, or what I need to do. So Swerve says, haven't gotten with a bow yet. Well, I feel it this year, dude. It's going to happen. Just try to hunt hard and smart and get back in there, make sure you're getting a half mile or more, preferably closer to a mile. You're going to end up in deer if you're in a good, if you've done your map scout and you get into a pretty good area a mile back. It's going to be, and you're hunting in November, it's going to be hard not to kill deer. Garrett says, y'all ever going to hunt Lake Whitney? That's a good question, man. I don't know if I can answer that. I would say yes, we are probably going to hunt Whitney. Fire, stop the madness. Enjoy the steaks. Thanks for chatting. Best of luck this season. Okay, man. Thank you. And I hope you guys have a great season. If you have any questions, feel free to go over to our Instagram, or even here commenting, and we will do a Q&A session again, like we did on the podcast of, month and a half ago or whenever it was. People loved it. It seemed like you guys ate it up, and I appreciate you guys paying attention and asking questions. That is so much fun. I love doing this. I love answering questions and just giving my thoughts, and then also seeing what you guys have to say about things as well. So if you have any questions, you can email them. You can send DMs on social, or comment here on any video. We'll start to put together a list, and we'll do another one here in the next couple of weeks. Buck Slayer asked one more question. Can you guys do a video series at Map Scouting? We actually do. It's right here on YouTube, and it's called Map Scout Challenge. If you go to our channel, you go to the playlists, you can find where it says Map Scout Challenge, and that is it's the best map scouting challenge online, I think. I may be biased, but we put a lot of effort into it. I can tell you, we put as much or more effort than anybody else has ever done into their map scouting. Some of the videos are 45 minutes long. It shows everything we think about in the map scouting process and in the boot scouting process. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And that's what we were doing in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan as well, as we were map scouting and doing a series. So those videos will release here in the next couple months. and hopefully those are helpful as well to you. The Map Scout Challenge will have another 5 or 6 videos this year, I think. So hopefully that helps you, man. I put a lot of effort into that, and so does KC. And really, it's to help. I could put the same video. I could put a video out that was 5 minutes long and used a whiteboard or something like that and not have to go anywhere and get some, get as many views as I do on those videos probably. But I want to help. We want to help. So we actually go and do, and we make them 45 minutes long, and we add maps and we show you everything we're thinking. And there's layers of video and different angles, camera angles. I mean, we work hard at it. So thank you for asking that question, and I hope you can find those. If you have any issues finding those, hit us up. We'll send you a link to the map scouting stuff, but it's just right here on YouTube under playlists, Map Scout Challenge. Thanks, guys. Keep the questions coming, and I'll see you soon. Remember, this is your element. Live in it.